Welcome to the Tech Sharmit podcast, where technology is not just news, but the roadmap to the future. This is a space where we explore the latest tech trends, AI, startups, gadgets, and the ideas that redefine the way we think. Leading this conversation is Amit Sharma, globally recognized as Tech Sharmit. A technologist from Bharat, Amit brings an Indian perspective to the global technology landscape. With deep technical expertise and strong industry insight, and for his contributions and impact within the global tech community, he has been recognized with several prestigious honors, including Google Developer Expert, Microsoft MVP, IBM Champion, and Planet Mainframe Influencer. Through this podcast, he shares practical knowledge, real-world perspectives, and globally relevant thinking designed to help you stay ahead in an ever-evolving technology landscape. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the Tech Sharmit channel to stay updated with future episodes. And if you're looking to level up your skills, don't forget to explore the Tech Sharmit digital course book in the description box, where you'll find thousands of free programming courses curated to help you grow as a developer. So plug in your headphones and join us as we begin today's episode of the Tech Sharmit podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tech Sharmit podcast. Today I'm joined by another very special guest, Kushal Pokhrel, who is joining us from Australia and originally he is from Nepal. Kushal is a researcher, lecturer, and a Google developer expert in machine learning. His academic journey includes master's degree in both data science and information systems. So, in today's episode, we will talk about AI research, responsible deployment, academic insight, and what the future of AI really looks like beyond the hype. But before we get started, I would like to thank Kushal for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us a bit about yourself.
Thank you, Amit. So I am Kushal. I'm a lecturer, researcher, and a Google developer expert in machine learning and AI. And first of all, thank you for having me. And it's an honor to be in this podcast and discuss a few things about the future of AI and some sort of our topics that we're going to discuss today. So I'm a researcher, of course, and a lecturer. Basically dwindling in different hats at this point of
Yeah.
time. Been a researcher for about 4 years now, involved by doing the same kind of pathway that we all do as a student, and sort of like gradually coming back to the conscience of finding the way where I am good at and pursuing the same and yeah, so I am where I am basically just for the love of the passion for the technology and for the love of finding new things, getting better every day. And yes, I would likely call myself as a translational researcher
Okay.
because I am in the translation of different fields. So yeah, thank you.
Yes, I think this is the best definition to define you or to introduce you, translation researcher, because like you really wear many hats. It's about researcher, lecturer, Google developer expert, and many other community role. So what do you think, like before, although like you have mentioned about one term that is translation researcher, but which identity you feel most like you among all these different role, and how did the journey from student to all these three happen simultaneously when you started your journey?
Well, to be honest, in terms of discuss about multiple hats,
Yeah.
I see this not as a separate entities, Amit. I
Okay.
basically see this as a unified ecosystem. So, in a sense, like if I had to choose one core, I would call myself a translational researcher because
Okay.
research is always has been the point, the defining point of my life, where everything apart from that the common thing is research, the likeness of finding, the curiosity of questioning everything. How did that happen? Why did that happen? How can it be better? Is there any benchmark that needs to be upgraded? How can this better society based on that was that I became a researcher, of course. So
Okay.
I would call this as a unified ecosystem rather than three hats probably. The journey from a student to all three happened as a strategic overlap.
Hmm. Okay.
Basically, in my strategy to become a technologist, to become good at what I do, what I love, this overlap happened and things came into my life. People started coming into my life. Organizations started coming into my life, and all these hats came into place, basically.
All right. Okay. And if we particularly talk about your academic qualifications, so you hold master's degree in both data science as well as information systems. And honestly, I believe that most of the people pick one lane when they start with their master's degree. So, what were the actual reason? Like, what were the gap you trying to close by pursuing both the degrees together? And did it really paid off to you? Like, how was your journey by combining these two my master's degree?
That's a very good question, Amit, actually. I keep on doing this. I keep on grounding myself over that question. And I also need to give you a heads up of how good that question is, because that might be answer a lot of questions for a lot of our viewers or someone who's actually
Doing
picking
this.
something, right? Picking
Yes.
what needs to be picked. So in my case, in the industry, we often see like a brilliant failures, right? For example, Skype, for example, right? This is not a paid thing or anything. We're just trying
Yeah.
to be a technologist out here. So I'm just trying to not disembark anybody, not try to put down anybody, but think about something like Skype. Like it has been there for ages. So what made Skype go down? So even though you have a better technology and advance, or no matter how good your technology is, if you don't have right people or right organization strategies to make it or land it to the tables that it needs to be landed on, for
Yes.
example, like consumer base, at the end of the day, it lacked consumer base. It lacked people coming into that platform and using it so that it can be monetized or whatever the revenue model was for that application. So same thing. We lack brilliant failures, basically.
Hmm.
So I think that's the whole base in terms of me choosing data science information systems, because it gave me that dual mastership. Like information systems gave me knowledge about how the business, for example, data science gave me the math, the base of the math, the things that it requires for me to cultivate that model, to deploy and develop these models into solving a use case, but doesn't really mean that when I create a product with that expertise, it's actually going to work. So
Hmm.
based on that, my information systems knowledge that gave me the relevance that I needed, while as a data science expertise that I have, how to make these tools that actually can help businesses, actually can help people,
People.
actually can deliver and sort of like eradicate those brilliant failures that we have seen constantly over the technology era, so I think that's the reason why I chose this dual mastery, and it actually is helping me a lot, to be honest. Like, moreover, like implementation, first of all, realization, implementation, then development, and making sure it's relevant.
It
So,
is
sort of
relevant.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, adaptable, usable, generalizable, and all those sort of things.
Yeah, I think this is the best explanation. So, especially those who are into this IT industry, or maybe those who wanted to pursue multiple courses, so they can also check back the things that yes, if it is something that you are going to deliver, it is relevant also. Because if you are just doing it for the sake of getting the degrees, that is not a fruitful thing. Because if you have but if you have a proper roadmap that yes, this is the something, this is the degree that will help you to learn the basics of particular subject, let's say math or something, and that thing that you can later incorporate in your deployment or in your development phase, that will provide something relevant
That's correct.
opportunities or solutions. So that's a great
That's
thing
correct.
you just shared, Kushal.
That's correct.
Okay,
It's
so
like it's like an analogy. It's like an analogy where, let's say you want to head to New York City.
yeah.
You're not gonna take a path to New Orleans, right?
Hmm.
You're gonna take the path to New York that lands you to New York City.
Yes, right.
So depending upon, so first of all is the need from inside of people, or our students who are trying to pursue, is this the thing that I want to do? Is this the
Definitely.
thing that I love? That's one important thing. And once you find that out, which is the more hardest part, to be honest. Apart from that, learning knowledge is gradual. It's a curve. It's a linear curve that goes on and on and on. But the whole soul likeness of, okay, this is the field that I want to pursue, and these are the nitty gritty stuff that is need to be done for me to excel in that field comes
Correct.
along. The first thing is to have the need, and to find out that, yes, I really love. So for example, like, I love coding. So, okay, I really love coding. I don't feel wasted when I'm trying to do hours and hours of coding. I love the whole the aspiration part. I love the whole architecture. I love to fail and develop. Those things need to come first
Correct.
as an aspiring student. Then you can overall develop your skills overall gradually and become experts along the way.
Right. Because this is also a problem nowadays. Like students are just following the trends. They just got to know about some particular technology that is in the trend nowadays, and they start following it. And they once, like after doing some basic understanding, they feel that no, this is not their area. So it's always best to figure out what you really want to love to do. For example, as Kushal mentioned, that if you love to do coding, and if you feel that yes, you are not getting bored by doing codings and to getting errors and to solve it. So if you are enjoying that throughout process, then this is the right path. Yes, you can explore the new technology, because in order to explore, like in order to get to know about its inside, you can just explore the things. And once you are sure that yes, this is the particular area where you want to contribute, then you can start and contributing in that area, so that it would be fruitful not only for you but for all the community for which you are going to deploy that solution that you are going to build through that technology.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah. All right, so fine, Kushal. Now we will talk a bit about the machine learning, especially the adversarial machine learning, because it is a field that most people outside AI haven't even heard of. So, can you please explain in a very simple layman terminology what it is, why it is really matters, and what actually scares you most about this technology when we are talking about in the year of 2026?
Well, thanks, Amit. That's a very good question. Actually, in simple terms, it's simple to understand, obviously. In adversarial machine learning is basically to trick AI.
Okay.
As magicians trick our line of sight. For example, if you go and see magicians, they will
Yes.
do a trick that looks enormously astronomical in nature. Oh, how did he even do that, right? So
Yes.
that's
Right.
the whole point. However, it's not the adversarial machine learning is a field where it deals with those kind of things that are not visible by plain sight. For example, tricking the AI into thinking a certain way where you want to counter interact with the AI to do your job. For example, let's say you want to a quick example would be there was an instance. This was a part of my one paper as well. I published that paper in adversarial machine learning as well, where what I found was, like, for example, sort of prompt injections per se. So, like, normally when AIs are built upon, they are robust in terms of having that security layer where they will interact with you, they will not give you things that are unethical in nature. For example,
Yeah.
not giving you Windows 10 keys or Windows 11 installation keys. That is unethical, because
Correct.
as a part where a company is backing up with a business model where they ask people to pay and buy their software, it is unethical to give them a free licensing,
Freely.
right?
Yes.
Even though in the backhand, these models, like transformer based models, these models are trained with those data somewhere around the line. I'm not going to pick point into what exact PDF file that went into training or what kind of text structures that went into their training lattices, but it is there. So
Correct.
it's how it works is a hacker can sort of modify their prompts or the way their inputs, basically, to give AI or to trick AI into answering their questions that can benefit their what
Okay.
they're looking for. So that's the whole study of adversarial machine learning, where you trick AI into giving things that is not supposed to be given. On top of that, that is one case, of course. But what's scary is this adversary sort of like bounce output. For example, it can give incorrect medical diagnosis. So imagine a medical diagnosis. How important is a medical diagnosis for a person who has just been identifies as a first level of cancer patient.
Yeah.
Think about the mental that he goes through. So, what if that medical bias was there while they did? So, for example, researchers or physicians who use AI with the benefit of, oh, okay, we have 99.9% of accurate models that are giving actual malign or binaries, based binary based distinctions in terms of, oh, is it a malign or is it a benign output? So think
Yes.
about like a person who gets a medical diagnosis later finds out that, oh, the AI was basically biased. There was
Biased.
a
Yeah.
chance that, yeah. So that is a huge concern. That is what number one that scares me. Another one is like, for example, a simple term would be, this is a high level of course of my worry. However, there is some other like few example like credit scores for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say an applicant applies for a credit score. You know that he's looking for a loan and he applies for a credit score, bank looks for a credit score, and you know that it's a rigorous process. Nowadays everything goes through AI. Job
Correct.
portals goes through AI. Like you're not gonna be seeing a person like from HR working on the back on the table or on the desk going through all that list of CVs, right? So it's
Documents.
basically
Yeah.
an ATR rating. Yeah, so there'll be an AI who's trained on ATR ratings, and they give those short list of ATR ratings of what they found best ATR rating CVs are, and then from there they will shortlist, and probably at that point of time, maybe it's second or third iteration of process, then a person, a human interaction can be. But think
Correct.
about those two, three steps already. How many potential candidate with that bias, if happens, would have been discarded? Who would have been better for that job role in the first place? You know what I mean? Like that's what the most scariest part for me, which is wrong utility.
Nice.
Utility,
Yes.
of course, it is doing a job, but in a wrong direction. It's not
Correct.
doing the job in a rightful way, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think the example you just shared, I think this is enough to understand the real meaning of this machine learning. And I'm sure, like those who are into this particular course, they can also relate with each and every example that you just shared with the audience. So I think now we are good to talk a bit more about, especially about the health sector, because yes, we all know that AI is going to change everything, especially the IT sector as well as the medical department, because nowadays everyone is utilizing and making sure that they can use the models in their work. So from your experience, because your work spans from computer vision, NLP, and health informatics also, so, what do you think? Like, where do these all things intersect in a most exciting current research that you are doing currently? And what kind of problem are you actively trying to solve by incorporating all these three things, computer vision, NLP, and health informatics in your work?
So where do they intersect? So
Yeah.
they would intersect in sort of like multimodal health informatics, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like multimodal health informatics in terms of like human health, of course, is not one dimensional, as you know. Like
Yes,
there'll be different dimensions of data that gets involved in human health. For example, visual data like chest X-rays,
agree.
or for example, pictures of a health skin. For example, in dermatology, we send skin lesions through pictures, right? And also some sort of other temporal data like your temperatures of your body while that x-ray was taken, all the other data that is continuously increasing or decreasing, dynamic based data. So these things, plus my research that focuses is on fusing these streams together.
Okay.
So making sure that these, while I'm sort of making a model, while I'm trying to make a model, I make sure that these three or these multiple streams of data, dimensions of data, are taken into consideration while I am trying to build that model upon. So that's what the intersection happens, where it is basically multi-dimensional health informatics.
Okay. Okay. And also, when we are talking about the AI in healthcare, it really feels like that we have opportunity and also the highest stakes application here. But what does a responsible deployment actually look like when we are talk about when we talk about the health informatics? Because we know that yes, AI has some benefits, but also it has some challenges, some obstacle, and some issues as well. So where do you feel like it is falling a short when we are talking about uh, AI integration with the healthcare applications or healthcare tools?
Well, yeah. So responsible deployment is can be defined with, I think, accountability. Number one, that
Okay.
would be the first part. Another is transparency, where things need to be transparent. Like then, there should not be any opaque things that is unlooked after or biased upon. And then uh, I mean, sort of like uniformability, or you can call it generalizability. It has to
Okay.
be general in nature for everybody. So in health informatics, this field still shorts in sort of like, uh, you know, algorithmic humility per se. For example, like AI needs to be able to say, I don't know,
Okay. Yeah,
right?
that is
Like just
also
like we
important.
humans, yeah. So we humans need, like we humans, when we are faced upon questions that are beyond our classification of knowledge, we say, I'm sorry, I'm not an
Yes.
expert in that field. I won't be able to help you any further. I think same thing would be the most important part in terms of responsible AI. If
Correct.
AI is not, for example, if you have been given a responsibility of doing a thing that is enormous in nature or astronomical in nature with high stakes,
Hmm.
it needs to also be uh, aligned with, it needs to be number one, transparent. It does
Okay.
not hide anything on the back. And number two is probably accountability. It needs to be accountable for things that it messed up or it cannot do, right? And another is uniform ability. It should be able to use for, it should be able to be used for different people, like from different perspective, it coming in, so that it can be called as an ethical, fully responsible embedded system. Like
Correct.
it's obviously, when you talk about, it's very hard to do, Amit, as you are also a technologist. You've been there since, you have seen the technological era being gradually developed from the 90s to the 2000s, 2010s, and now we have the AI era from 2022. So you've seen how gradually things change,
Changed.
and
Yes.
how hard it is to implement changes, right? So for
Definitely.
example, let's say software development, if some stakeholder comes up with a single, sort of like a single change, how that gradually affects your whole Swift outcome,
Yes.
like how that your whole sprint cycle comes into play. Now you have to go back to, so I mean, just an example, just an analogy, is like,
Yes.
it is hard to do, but we still have to work on that. We have to make sure that we still do that, where the AI is transparent, where the AI is accountable, and where the AI is generalizable.
Correct. And I'm also very much agree on that point that there's nothing wrong if AI returns that no, I'm not aware of this thing, and I can, like, it can simply answer that no, I don't know the solution, instead of navigating you to the wrong direction. Because if it has that capability to understand your prompt and respond in that manner, that yes, if it doesn't have that information, so it can simply reply that no, I don't know. Otherwise, what will happen nowadays, like when we are using AI tool, so if it knows the things, it can share answer. Otherwise, it will took you to the some wrong direction, and then your research or your work will be completely will be totally dependent on that solution. So if it is wrong, it will for sure impact your overall outcome. So instead of navigating you to the wrong direction, it is very important that AI came forward and simply say that no, I don't know the answer. So that is a best
Exactly.
thing.
The whole concern, yes, the whole concern of AI, we ask AI to be responsible, or the creators to be responsible, or I also take this into my own learning and development algorithm every
Yes.
single time, is we're not talking about power users here. We're not talking
Yeah.
about experts who are using the AI. Experts can always debug things.
Correct.
They can find flaws in AI's outcome every single. I do that every single day when I'm trying to use AI for any sort of research that I do. As you know, like for example, like in my research, we have a portion called literature review. That's usually done on the first part, where you go into millions and millions of articles, lectures, blogs, things, to find as much as literature review as possible, as much as
Correct.
literature information as possible before we jump into that research that we have we're going to carry out. So in terms of that, we know what is happening, but think about that in a perspective where majority of people are not experts here. Maybe we are top 10% or top 8%, but most majority of users that are using are sort of like low to medium experts who do not have the hand, sort of like the knowledge to say it right or wrong. So
Correct.
if AI gives right answer, that's good. But in case of AI pointing into the wrong direction, what happens is that person's knowledge base becomes the
Yes.
whole thing here. That's the whole, the single analogy is, for example, like Wikipedia. Wikipedia, we're not gonna like most of our people, technology, or someone who's involved will always say, do not use Wikipedia as your source of information. It might have incorrect
Wrong information.
answers.
Yes.
So it's not they're definitely saying that it will have incorrect answers. You will see like most of the articles are right. Most of
Yes.
the topics that is explained in Wikipedia are right, but the whole possibility, the single possibility of it having a wrong answer is
Correct.
the impact that we're talking about here. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, all right. So, Kushal, we talked about AI, its integration with healthcare sector, but now I'm going to ask you one very important question because whenever there is a discussion regarding artificial intelligence, people are afraid of job because there are a lot of noise right now that AI is going to replace humans with their work. So, as a researcher, as a someone who actively doing both research as well as teaching, what is your honest take on that? Like, do you think AI is going to replace researcher work, or it is going to help them? So, what is your overall take on this?
My take would be AI. This whole argument is a little misplaced. AI
Okay.
is not going to overtake researchers,
Okay.
but AI is going to sort of potentially work hand in hand with the
Mm-hmm.
research. So AI might replace. So in terms of research, I will explain to you. It might replace the position of a research assistant.
Okay.
But AI is not going to, in this is my perspective and my
Mm-hmm.
perspective completely. However, you're free to sort of like our viewers or anybody who has any dissatisfaction about this claim that they can be their own free will. But
Yeah.
in my perspective, research assistant might be replaced, but researcher as a whole, it will not be replaced. So this is a little bit misplaced argument. I don't think researchers are going to be replaced. However, uh, if you do not have the ability or if you do not have the conscience to work hand in hand with AI,
Mm-hmm.
then of course you are going to lose a lot of things. For example, let's go back to the researchers that did their research. Like for example, did their reviews, did their research beforehand, published the papers, put the technical writings into place, and then published a sort of like an article before AI. For example, let's
Yes.
say 1990s or 2000s or even 2015s, or let's say a year before AI was introduced, let's say 2021 or 2020. Until that time, research were still being published. Researchers were still there. Now researchers are still there, so it doesn't mean the publishing is not happening. AI
Mm-hmm.
is going to help you to reduce the task for into bits. Let's say, for
Yes.
example, in my case, the most important times in my research that I had to invest. I'm doing research since 2020, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So I have seen those days where there was no AI or anything like that to help research. But
Okay.
so most time it took was about research, sort of finding the literature review. That's the one of the most significant time. So if somebody pursues PhD, most of the time the first year that has been allocated to them is for literature review. So literature review tasks now is being done in merely hours,
Mm.
even in half an hour, or probably if you're really good at doing things, you can do the whole lot of literature review. For example, like 200, 300 papers, you can summarize those papers and find those important findings of
Correct.
that is relevant to your papers in merely 30 minutes or an hour. Does that mean it is taking the researcher's job? No.
No, it is going
Researchers
to
are
help them.
let help. Yeah, it is helping, and you just need to align yourself in terms of getting that help correctly. So if you really know how to get the help, AI will productively help you and go along to make you more of make your work more even productive, even like reducing the times that it needs to be done. Before, like it took 6 months to write a paper, probably like a full paper for a
Hmm.
journal. Now it takes about a month, even less than a month sometimes, right? So it
Correct.
depends upon how you take that. But
Yes.
for the whole argument, AI is replacing researchers, I would stand with a no.
No.
I would say AI is not replacing researchers. AI instead is helping researchers to do better research.
Right. So I think we can easily conclude that yes, AI is not going to replace the humans, but it is there to help you to reduce those repetitive tasks if there is something that you are doing unnecessarily and it is repetitive in nature. So that in that case, you can make use of AI utilities that will help you to do those tasks so that you can spend your time in actual research work, not only on those repetitive or similar kind of work again and again. So it is going to help you to enhance your productivity, not it is going to place you completely as a researcher.
That's correct. That's correct. So, moreover, you can focus on statistical methods that you apply. Moreover, you can focus on core competencies of your research.
Yes.
What is the gap? Those things you can focus on more rather than those redundant tasks that you
Yes.
need to do. So, that is the whole, yeah.
All right. Okay. So, Kushal, now we'll talk about your experience with global conferences and journals because you have published in premier global conferences as well as journals. So, what do you think? Like, what does the publishing process teach you about the actual overall work that actual research doesn't teach you? And what do you think? Like, what is the broken about academic publishing in AI right now? So we'll take answer in two parts. Firstly, your overall experience with global conferences and journals, and then about the AI publishing in the era of AI.
Well, yes, publishing basically teaches you the discipline of rigorous peer validation, which is
Okay.
usually not found in normal blog posts, for example. Like, let's say you go on to Medium right now, you will see billions and millions of posts coming up
Yes.
from developers, from different peoples. But what basically the distinction between publishing or research publication is that it goes through a peer validation process. Like it goes
Hmm.
through a peer review process, a rigorous peer review process where it has certain stages of peer reviews where people from the background subject matter experts, for example, will come and validate your research with different segments of questionings, right? They will go on to each part of your process, how you did it, in terms of what kind of data analytics techniques you used, what were the sorts of gaps you have identified, what are the contributions it did apart from the other research that have already been done in this field, and per se all and so on and so on and so forth, right? Those things come into play. So research publication basically teaches you peer evaluation, rigorous peer evaluation or validation of your peer evaluation of your paper.
Okay.
That you usually that does not happen in blog posts, or you will see some organizations, like for example LinkedIn.
Hmm.
You can still be able to go in and post. So for example, I can go into LinkedIn right now and I can post things that I want to, pretty
Yeah.
much, and I can put in a couple of sentences or statements there which is not actually true, or I just
Hmm.
made it up, and there is no validation for it. But
Correct.
what peer evaluation does is it makes sure that whatever paper you're reading, the publisher, the publication, it's their responsibility to go through a rigorous peer evaluation process, and it is accurate and basically has integrity value on it, which means is that
Hmm.
any viewer that is going to read it ensures that that's the paper that is confidential and integral, which means it's accurate, and it's not like it just came up with someone just thought of it and went on and published it in the web.
Okay.
And currently, so in terms of sort of, let's say, not a gap, but currently it lacks an open science framework. For example, I was always a big no about, uh, like paying. For example, like when I was a student, when I was like back in when I was doing my information systems masters, we had to do some coursework assignments, and we had to cite few articles that we base our answers upon. And when
Hmm.
we go through there, you see like there are certain paywalls that comes into play. Like when you're
Yeah.
trying to read the whole paper, it's not going to show you the paper because publishers block them and ask you to pay certain amount of fees. So the whole thing is like it. I don't think that if, like, for example, sometimes even if authors would like to be it as an open journal,
Mm-hmm.
most of the open journals are there, of course, but open journals do not have that much of an exposure in terms of citations. Like,
Yeah.
for example, there needs to be, as a researcher, you're also after citations. Like, you need to make sure that right amount of eyes are being able to see your paper. So
Correct.
for example, if I'm an artificial intelligence researcher or a machine learning developer or someone who's researching in machine learning algorithms, I need to make sure that my research is being seen from a student from a PhD or someone who's doing a master's of research, or
Same
someone
here.
who's actually a likely eyes who appreciates that work and is
Correct.
falling into the right hands. I'm not gonna my paper is not targeted towards a human research scholar, a human resources scholar, right? Or
Correct.
someone who's from medical, or someone who's completely different. So that is the whole purpose. So big firms need to realize that there needs to be some sort of a open science framework. Like, I don't know, like sort of like in software we call it a freemium model. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's a gap I see here: open science or open research framework, where it needs to be guided by the thing is like, okay, I'm just going to show you my abstract, but the rest of the paper you have to pay for it.
Pay for
That
it.
does not work the way it is, because abstract is just there to sort of give you the hunger of reading your full paper. So it's basically like a mission statement in a report.
Correct.
So I would feel the gap would be like there would be a uniform framework that needs to be guided, where at least most important part of the research should be visible for people who are seeing there, because nobody like, you cannot expect people to have 32 euros or 100 euros handing in their pockets to pay. Usually, like, these researchers are the amount of viewers I see are my students who
Correct.
are interested in learning what was invented, what was done in this research. And if you show them just the abstract, what are they going to learn? So that's
Yes.
the gap I have identified. And I think there should be some sort of a framework that can guide not just open journals or open conferences, but also all conferences and journals in general, you know?
Okay. Yes, I think it is a need of the time, and it will really help those who are into the similar field, and they can also get some insight from the abstract or whatever information is present for them. So, yes, it is the need. Okay, so Kushal, we talked about AI, we talked about your research work, your approaches, and I'm sure like there are plenty of things that we can discuss here regarding the research, but we are short on time, so I just want to take a few more questions. And before we conclude this technical part, I just want to take one advice from your end to all those person who also wanted to pursue the similar kind of role that you are pursuing, like researcher, educator, community builder, all at once. So, what one piece of advice you would like to share with all those folks who are into the similar journey of research and work?
So I would like to suggest them to find out the art of context switching,
Okay.
like switching between the context of the expertise that you have gained. For example, like me being an educator researcher, I always constantly switch contexts, switch
Okay.
personas, as in while I'm trying. And also, I ensure that you have an ability, or try to find that common thread that is aligning. So, for example, something common that aligns with the expertise that you have gained. So in my phase, that's how I do my work. So I make sure that the information part of things, information systems part of things, and the data science part of things, both are taken into context switching material, where if I'm trying to do developing models and designing models, I go on towards data science context switching. And if I want to make sure that the models are applicable, generalizable to public or businesses, or the ones that are my targeted users, or anybody who I am trying to develop this from, I immediately switch back to my information systems and understand, is that better for their IOI? Is that matching their business outcomes?
Hmm.
Is that what their requirement analysis was showing me? Am I giving them the product that actually is gonna make them something better, right? Something useful.
Correct.
and sort of like master the art of context switching, number one, and always find that common thread that you always love about. So in
Okay.
my case, when I started loving the love of obviously tech as well in general, but coding was my first love, of course. When I used to code, I used to sit back like hours and hours. It goes hours and hours past, no hunger. I would realize when I finish my job, I would realize and look at the clock and I would say, oh my God, the whole 12 hours or the whole day has passed. So that usually find that kind of is an example of a common thread where
Correct.
you have that thing that is common with people that succeed in their, like career. So for example, like I would just, it's a little bit different, sort of like a term, but I would like to say this is, sure. So I would say that find that common thread that you have, find that love that you have inside yourself, and master the art of context switching. That's basically what I'm going to say. And one quick line I would say is if you worry about the time in the clock, then also there's a certain saying is like if you do not want to worry about tapping, like buying anything, or if you don't want to worry about money in your life, stop worrying about time
That's a very
in your
great
job.
phrase.
Right,
That's
that's
the
that's
best.
what a simple analogy probably. So that means in this case would be find that common thread that you have and that art of context switching and the love for your the pursuit of whatever field you're trying to.
All right. Okay, so now Kushal, we will talk about the network of support because in everyone's life, like there is a support of network who helped us to become what we have, with what we are. So looking back on your own journey, who were the key people around you who had a defining impact on your journey so far, uh, so far throughout your life now?
A lot, especially my father and mother, of course, my family, and then of course my mentors, my professors, and my co-authors, of course, my collaborators. I always thank them, and also some colleagues that I work with. They were immensely supportive, with sort of like a whole holistic approach of their support, their love, their guidance, uh, was something that is astronomical for me. That did the job where I am today. So I would like to thank them from the bottom of my heart.
All right. Okay, so yeah, I think before we conclude the overall discussion, I just wanted to know a bit more about the country you belong from. So, what do you think? Like, although like there are so many things in which Nepal has contributed to the global economy and global forum, but according to you, what's the one best thing about the Nepal that you feel proud to share with the rest of the world through this podcast?
Yeah, I'm proud Nepalese, of course, and I would like to represent two countries at this point. So Nepal and Australia, these two countries have given me the things that I am here,
Yes.
build upon, and giving me the foundations to build. Of course, my whole growing journey and everything that I lived up to, grew up to, was from Nepal, of course, and then I decided to come to Australia, and then came to Australia at a young age, and then became and he had these educational foundations. So what I'll say is I bring these two things from these countries. So that's what I bring, and I'm proud to say this. I'm proud to say this and share this in this podcast, of course. Is that from Nepal I bring the philosophy of patience and courage,
Yeah.
which is like patience is a term where we Nepalese are patient,
Mm-hmm.
and courage is we are known for being courageous and brave. So
Yes.
that these three things that I bring from my Nepal background as being Nepal, and I would like to also say Jai Nepal, which
Yes.
we usually say Long Live Nepal or Hail Nepal, of course. So Jai Nepal, and from Australia I bring the collaborative nature of Australia, the giving nature of Australia, the diverse land that it gives to grow for different kinds of cultures in Australia. So I would like to say collaborative innovation for Australia, and then also the collective generosity that Australia
Yeah.
gives, where it doesn't matter where which background you are from, or as you get the foundations, you get the runway, the field where you can do your runs. right? And then
Yes.
become the Excel runner that you are. So depending upon your capability, it gives you the field for you to practice on, right? It's
Right.
like giving a student a notebook to practice,
To
right? So
practice. Yeah.
that's what it is. So I would say I would bring courage and hope and braveness from Nepal, and then collaborative innovation and generosity and guidance from
From
Australia.
Australia. All right. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much, Kushal, for joining us today in this episode and for sharing so much information about your research work, the methodology that every researcher should know about. It was really a pleasure talking to you here, and I'm sure it will resonate with so many other researchers who are doing their work in the research field. So, thank you once again for being a part of the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
Thanks.